Get started. I want to show you somebody from 1993, and look who this is. It's funny that these people all like have the same script.
Now, if students can do that in 1960, if students can do that in 1970, if students can do that in 1985 and 86, in 1993, when we have the United States government building a death camp, a concentration camp for black people who have done nothing wrong but get sick and want justice. That's all they've done wrong. If we can't close that death camp, if this generation cannot prevent another Japanese American internment in our lifetime, we should all get haircuts and go get regular jobs and give it up.
That was Van Jones in 1993 with locks and just looking the part, looking the conscious part. See, the premise behind all of this is, notice he said that black people are innocent. So the whole notion of all of this is that black people are oppressed. That's the premise behind the whole foundation of what they're ushering in on the entire planet. The foundation of it rests in black people being oppressed. That's the foundation of it. That is the foundation of it, is that black people are oppressed. That notion right there, from that, everything else spirals. You got from black people being oppressed to the civil rights movement, to socialism, to communism, to a global outlook on how we treat oppressed people, for the United States being a model for oppression. It's just like from that one premise, everything spirals out of control from there. And then if you look at it, every agenda is linked back to racism, which means that black people are oppressed. It's the same. And so the premise of it all is false. This is the reason why this stuff is so hard to combat, because nobody attacks the premise. The premise is that black people are not, or are oppressed. They're not oppressed. So when we're talking about this stuff, that's the elephant in the room. So when people get up on these platforms and podiums and they just say things and like, they just say things like, black people, they have, no, I don't know. Black people are not oppressed in America. And I would actually venture to say that black people have privilege, because a black person can accuse somebody of being racist and it holds weight. A black person can say they're a victim of racism and it holds weight. Like any claims that a black person makes about racism is believed to be true. Any claims that a black person makes about being victimized is believed to be true. The whole premise of it all is false. Black people are not oppressed at all. It's not true. Y'all do too much bragging and boasting to be oppressed. It's too much stunting. It's too many cliches. It's too much for you all to be oppressed. But let's continue.
Government does for you or what white people do. They assume that the destiny of blacks is determined by what white people do. That has never been the case. Between 1920 and 1940, the education gap in the South between whites and blacks was 3 years. 8th grade for whites, 5th grade for blacks. Within 20 years, that gap closed within 6 months. There were 5 high schools at the turn of the century in New York, Baltimore, Washington, Atlanta, and New Orleans. They had used textbooks, overcrowded classrooms, half the budgets of white schools. But every one of those schools out-tested every white school in those cities. If we were able to close the education gap between 1920 and 1940 through self-determination and hard work, how can you say that it is racism that is the cause of the present-day challenges when under segregation we achieved?
I want you to think about this. From 1920 to 1940, what programs were in place? What national initiatives were in place from 1920 to 1940? What purposeful and intentful programs or plans were put in place so that the education gap between whites and black was closed? None. So my question is, how were black people able to lessen the education gap without any government assistance. So if you think about the communists saying that we're going to use the Negro, and the communists were saying this prior to 1920. So prior to 1920, what did the communists see in Black people to make them believe their plan was going to work? Because around this same time was the communist agenda for Black people in America during this time. So what did the communists see in Russia to make them believe that Black people were going to be able to be used to fulfill this plan? They had to have seen something. So even when we see Black achievement right here, there had to have been another segment of Black that appealed to a nefarious force. There had to be a segment of the Black population that the enemy thought could be used to destroy America. Now, clearly, the folks that wanted to educate themselves, and I mean, it is possible that the folks that were in education could be used to be communists, but at the same time, it's really hard to achieve when you feel oppressed, because what's the point? And so I think somebody needs to look into it. Needs to look into the two segments of the Black population. We mentioned before on Cutting Through the Culture about the segment of Blacks that wanted to leave the South and go to the North or go to the West, and then those that stayed in the South. And we mentioned culture. But from 1920 to 1940, in 20 years, the education gap went from 3 grade levels to 6 months. And so if we fast forward, how is it now that most of the Black children cannot read, write, or do math on grade level? It doesn't make any sense. In the present day, the majority of Black children cannot read, write, or do math on grade level. But from 1920 to 1940, they were able to shrink the education gap from 3 grade levels to 6 months. So all the stories they tell you about how bad it was, they never tell you about this. They never tell you what Black folks were doing during this time. And you and I both know when people are hopeless, they're not going to do this. So there's no way it could have been as bad as they said, because Black is just no way. There had to have been some embellishment, because if you're trying to survive white supremacy and white oppression, you're not thinking about going to school. Imagine the picture that they paint. White people are hunting Black people down, lynching them, killing them just under constant duress. You're not thinking about going to school. You're not thinking about your ABC. You're thinking about survival. So the fact that Black people was able to look past racism and want to sit down and learn under all that oppression leads me to believe it wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as they say. Not that it wasn't bad. It wasn't as bad as they say.
See, year after year aren't the result of luck or privilege. They stem from hard work and a culture that prioritizes learning. Research shows that Asian kids read more books, watch less television, and study longer than other groups. Even in low-income Asian families, money goes toward test prep instead of $300 sneakers. And the results are obvious at elite schools, not just in New York, but nationwide, where even low-income Asian students have outperformed middle and upper-income students from other groups. Some claim that the tests are racist, but if that's true, how is it that Asians, a racial minority group, get the highest scores?
So what Black folks do is they lie. And what they'll say is, well, Asian people, so what they say is that white people are racist selectively, meaning that white people don't bother other minorities. They just bother Black people. They bother other minorities in certain instances. But Black folks lie. If America was truly racist, people would not be fighting and risking their lives to come over here. It just doesn't make any sense. If America was truly racist, people would not be fighting to come over here. People come to America with expectations. People don't come to America thinking I'm gonna have to fight and scratch. People come to America with expectations from the government and society. They come here feeling very privileged and feeling very good when they come over here with a lot of confidence and pride. And they're quick to tell you what you can and can't do to them. So this notion that America's racist is just a bold-faced lie. and black folks are not oppressed. That is the premise of it all. Once you buy into that notion, then everything is lost. So if a Republican is talking about black folks experiencing something, you're lost. When Tim Scott got up there and said he been pulled over so many times, it's a lie. You doing something. Hold on. Do you all realize how many police officers you pass a day? Do you all realize that you probably pass 100 police officers a day? That means if you get pulled over once a week, you got pulled over 1 out of 700 times. And if it was in a month, you got pulled over 4 times out of 2,800 times of being by a police officer. It's a lie. It's cap. This whole oppression narrative needs to be abolished. You know, they say abolish the police. How about abolish the oppression narrative? Black people are not oppressed. What black people do well is play the victim. Two different things. Playing the victim and being oppressed are not the same thing. Black people play the victim well when the cameras are rolling. When you cut the cameras off and they start stunting.
Chicago this weekend. What's even crazier is that we still crazy that over 40 people got shot in Chicago this weekend. What's even crazier is that we still not talking about who be doing some of this shit. It ain't the gangs. It ain't just the youngins. Don't you know that when the shit died down, anytime there's a motherfucking truce, a peace treaty anywhere, anytime the shit just slow down for a minute.
Black people just make stuff up. There's no truce. What is he talking about? Listen, for everybody that's listening right now, okay, what color you are. When black people are on their soapbox explaining something to you, take it with a grain of salt because they're going to lie. They want to be right and look a certain way. They don't want to tell you the truth. And this is a part of black privilege because there's no consequence for black people just making stuff up. There is no consequence for black people being wrong. A black person can get on TV and say something totally false and there is no consequence. None. We see it all the time.
Them motherfuckers is pulling up in the mystery machines. You don't know who I mean by them motherfuckers? That's why it's a mystery, huh? You gotta get on that Scooby-Doo quest and figure it out. Who do you think is instigating? Who do you think is...
And what's sad and what's horrible is now that with social media, we can just document a lot of this beef. Like we can document who dissed who put who in the song, who said what. Like what's crazy is with social media, all this stuff is documented. The police don't have to, the FBI and CIA don't have to put on a black mask and go shoot folks in the hood. Trust me, anybody that grew up in the hood will tell you that what black folks do. Anybody that's on Instagram or YouTube right now, have you ever been in the hood and seen black people not be hood? I'm not saying that everybody in the hood. I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you live in these urban environments, 3 things are certain: violence, criminal activity, and poor education. 3 things are going to be consistent. I'm trying to figure out what community does he live in. Most of these people didn't grow up in what we call the hood. There's no way you could have. There's no way you could have grown up in the hood. I grew up in the crack era. In the crack, so that means I'm seeing not just drugs and dope fiends and pregnant women on drugs and prostitution and all that, but I'm also seeing gangs and the violence that comes not with the drugs, but also with the gangs. So you're trying to say that black folks ain't doing it. And this is why I say that black people are evil and wicked. This is an evil spirit. You know how many mothers are ruined because their sons are dead or daughters are dead? You know how many parents have, you know how many communities have been rocked because innocent lives have been lost, and you get on social media and say that black folks ain't doing it, it's white people doing it? It's disgusting. And I'm not saying that every aspect of the hood is bad, but the hood is bad because of the inhabitants in the hood. Nobody's from the outside coming to the hood and making it bad. Matter of fact, when other races come to the hood, they bring it up. When other races gentrify the hood, they actually bring it up. We've already talked about white flight and what white flight does to the black communities. When white folks leave, they crumble. So if what he's saying is true, when white folks leave, it should be prosperous. We should see ancient Kemet and Kush in every city of America. There should be a Kush and Kemet in Detroit, a Kush and Kemet in Chicago. Should be a Kush and Kemet in LA. It should be a Kush and Kemet in Miami. It should be a Kush and Kemet in Atlanta. It should be a Kush and Kemet in all these cities when white folks leave. Why it take for white people to come back to these urban areas to revitalize them? And he gets on social media, and he has many followers too, but he's a fraud. He gets on social media and he lies and says that black folks ain't doing the killing. Are you crazy? Are you nuts? Have you seen the viral videos of kids, children, middle school age, with guns, bringing guns to school? You got 13-year-olds walking around with guns, and you think the police got to come in and do something? You're crazy. The CIA, the FBI, is cap. It's cap. So again, anybody, but the whole foundation of what he's saying is that black people are oppressed. That is the foundation that everything spirals from. So when Klaus Schwab says by 2030, you're going to own nothing and be happy, you take that trail all the way to the beginning. And the beginning of that statement is black people are oppressed, because all of the marketing has gone behind black folks being oppressed. That's what the marketing is. Black people being oppressed. Matter of fact, it's so bad that if I say I'm not oppressed, people get upset with me.
They just doing drive-bys. And then you think it was the ops. Yeah, it's the real ops. But a lot of us don't really know who the real ops is. I guess we could talk about it. Or maybe we can't.
This guy's a fraud. Somebody just mentioned it. They glorified in the music. So let me get this straight. The young people, let's say ages 13 to 30 something, carrying guns, they got gangs and criminal activity, and they're glorifying it in the music. And you don't think that they doing the killing? They got the guns, they got the motive, they got the crime, they put it in the music. All the elements are there, but they ain't doing the killing. Think about what he's saying. He's saying that black folks are able to just walk around with guns and nobody gets shot. Black people lie. And I say this because black people are believed to be telling the truth when they speak. When he's talking, no one thinks he's lying. I know he's lying, but no one thinks he's really lying. That's why I say it. And you can always tell when a black person is lying by where they place the responsibility. All these people that have died, all these babies that have been shot, all these folks that have admitted to, you don't watch First 48, you all. Half of the time, them folks admit to the killings. Do you know how many interrogations you can pull up on YouTube right now of folks admitting they did the shooting? All this evidence points to black folks causing all of this murder. Not black folks, I'm sorry, black men. A percentage of black men causing all these murders and chaos and havoc, death and destruction. And he just comes online and just says, oh, white people are doing it. The black man is weak. And why? Because he has an excuse. These babies can't read or write and do math. So if a child can't do schoolwork, what is their alternative? You can link child behavior to their academics. Poor performing students are usually behavior problems. Behavior problems in school usually go to do criminal activity, eventually end up in the judicial system. So again, none of the problems in the community is he ever going to address because he always has white folks to blame. That's why I reject the notion. That's Satan.
1,000 times, and this is why I'm going into it now. This is why I'm breaking this down. Because the plight of a lot of African countries have nothing at all to do with the legacy of colonialism, just like your condition, black folk, has nothing to do with the legacy of slavery. It has everything to do with the ideology and the worldview that you embrace today. Africa destroyed itself because Africa went full-blown socialist after the various nationalist revolutions that threw off their colonial rulers. Africa is suffering due to the legacy of colonialism, right? I got it. It's the white man, right? No, the white man showed you how to build a prosperous nation, how to build a prosperous society, and you flung it off to the side because you looked at it as though, yes, it's coming from the white man. It's not coming from the white man. It's coming from a man who just so happens to be white. Why are you throwing out the baby with the bathwater? Don't you want freedom? Don't you like freedom? No, you would rather be a socialist. Why? Because the white man gave you the concept of individualism and capitalism, and you don't want it because the white man is the one that gave it to you. But what's the alternative? Socialism? Oh, you want that because the black man is going to give you that. Well, I don't want that shit. Does that make me a sellout and a coon and etc.? I'll be that, and I'll wear that shit proudly. You ain't hurting my feelings. I don't give a damn what you say. I'm not a fool.
And the same way Africa went socialist is the same way that black people in America are socialists, because the foundation of the movement is that you are oppressed. This stuff doesn't appeal to someone who feels empowered. It's because you feel oppressed. So the Africans felt oppressed by another force, which means we need someone to step in and intervene to help us. The premise of all of these movements is oppression, and it can be the LGBTQ movement or the trans movement or whatever the movement is. The foundation of it is oppression. But black people are the face of oppression. If you type in slave right now, black folks gonna pop up. You type in oppression right now, black folks gonna pop up. Police brutality, black folks gonna pop up. Racism, black folks gonna pop up. It's already ingrained in the psyche of the world that black people are oppressed. And if black people are oppressed, then anything close or in close proximity to black is also oppressed. That's why the gays and the trans say we got the same struggle. We share the same struggle as the blacks. We're like that's why the Palestinians say we like the black. That's why people are throwing up the black fist, because they're relating themselves to black. That's why the Mexicans be using the N-word, because they relate themselves to black. It's all stemming from oppression. So now the white liberal can say the same Trump that is oppressing black people is also oppressing me. The whole foundation of the devil's plan stems from black people being oppressed. So now these African countries wanted socialism because they felt like they had been dealt a bad hand. Anybody that wants socialism or communism is a coward. They're weak. Any man that signs off to put his destiny in another man's hand is a fool. There's no way that this stuff works on a man that has honor and character and integrity. Matter of fact, it'd be offensive to even suggest it. Offering a man that's empowered socialism and communism would be offensive, because all he would hear is slavery. Just like rock and roll was created by some artists who happen to be black. Do you understand? Do you understand what he's saying, what I'm saying? Because individuals have done something, it doesn't mean they speak for the collective. Usually the most forward thinking, usually the brightest, usually the most industrious people of each group are the ones that do these things. It's not the whole group. Most people are mediocre. Most folks are average of any race. So it ain't the average folks doing this stuff. It's the folks that are the cream of the crop of their people. They just so happen to be that people. So black folks taking credit for rock and roll is foolish. So you notice they'll say that rugged individualism is white. It's white supremacy. For a person to have individual goals and stand on their own and be a sovereign person is seen as white. You'll hear these folks talk about this. You'll hear these folks talk about rugged individualism, being an individual. Black folks want you to be a part of the collective. White liberals, same thing. They want you to be a part of the collective. The whole woke movement, the whole left, whatever you want to call them, the libtards, the Negrostinians and the libtards, they want you to have a hive mind collective thought. They don't want you to be an individual. Obama got on the podium and said that you didn't start that business by yourself. You didn't start that business by yourself. What I find funny is most black people will tell you when they're starting something and building something, they rarely, if almost never, get help from black people. Even the mighty Dr. Umar Johnson, aka Jermaine Shoemate, said that he had to use the white contractors to build the fake school. Even he said that. So when Chuck asked the question, do y'all like freedom? No, black people don't like freedom because it comes with responsibility. Being black and being free are oxymorons. To be black is to be controlled. So to be black is to literally embody oppression and slavery. You talk to the average black person, that's 9.9 out of 10, and they believe they're suffering from some form of oppression, which means that most black people have the same thoughts. I just said that the foundation of all of this is black folks being oppressed, because from that one premise, everything spirals. It makes the Hispanics say, we identify with them in our struggle. It makes the LGBTQ say we identify with them. It makes the foreigners say we identify with them. Everybody can identify with black folks when it comes to oppression, and that's the problem. Black people are not oppressed. Chuck asked the question, do you like freedom? Do you want to be free? And the answer is no. Black people don't. What would black people be without racism? What would black people be without racism? If white folks left the planet tomorrow, they'd just be blaming the Asians. If white people left the planet tomorrow, black folks would just be blaming Asians.
Asking the question today, should vaccines be mandated?
In terms of getting people healthy, let's get them outside and vitamin D. Let's mandate healthy fisheries so we all get healthy vitamin D sources. Let's mandate organic foods. Let's mandate regenerative farms. Let's change the subsidies from McDonald's and all these GMOs to organic farms and these beautiful small companies we see here. There's so much more to health that we can mandate that other than injecting something that is completely experimental, and there's so many alternatives and there's so much money involved.
Right.
And so granted, the people have to rise because money will move, unless we move.
That young lady that was speaking, she basically said, if we're going to mandate something, let's mandate good health.
Racist.
Do you want to answer this for me?
Nope, this is for you. You made the claim, back it up.
No.
How is he a racist?
He has had multiple people be killed because
He
of
has-
his brutality.
He has had people be killed.
Ma'am, I live in a town where there was riots.
Very good. I'm glad that that's where you come from. However, who has he had killed?
He has caused his police to do it. He has militia-ized this country.
He has militia-ized this
I
country.
can't speak English because I suck at it, but ma'am.
Don't assume my gender.
What are your pronouns then?
Zay and Z and princess.
Princess?
Yes. How is he a racist?
I'm not going to answer you.
Why? Because you can't or because you won't?
No, because I'm pissed at you and you should leave our campus.
Oh, no. This is a free country, right? Whose streets? My streets. Today.
Yes, this is a private campus.
No, it's not. It is a public university. I just want to know how Donald Trump is racist.
Because he has had his militia, our military, be used to protect buildings against people who have been killed multiple times.
Oh, I forgot to say, black people lie, and so do the libtards. They lie too. And you know they're lying because when you ask them to tell you how, they can't do it. They're lying. This girl making up words. She says she can't. She sucks at speaking English. These folks got on mad. These people look crazy. These people are absolutely nuts.
How is
The average person listening to her thinks that she's telling the truth. Let's listen to Steven Jackson real quick.
You have the nerve to get on there and say, well, we was rooting for Caitlin Clark and you broke everybody's hearts. Who is we? Who is we? All the black people I know was rooting for Dawn Staley. We all fans of Caitlin Clark, but the way you put it, that shit was trash. And I'm glad it's a new day in the media space. You know what I'm saying? Because you say you so intelligent, you don't even say stuff like that to somebody on the interview. You just demeaned her and made it about Caitlin Clark. That's trash.
Well, first of all, in sports in general, sports really mirrors the David and Goliath story in the Bible. Most people are going to root for an underdog because it's a story that most folks can relate to. Someone being down and rising above. Like it's in almost every story we get as a child, every fairy tale, every hero story. The underdog winning is the story that's ingrained in us since birth. So the Caitlin Clark, Iowa story is a David and Goliath story. It's not because it's just she's a great player, but it's the whole story in totality. It's Iowa, who doesn't get the big recruits. It's Caitlin Clark, who's, a great player, but very unassuming. Iowa doesn't have the best of the best. Iowa's going up against powerhouse D1 schools like LSU, South Carolina, etc. So there is a David and Goliath effect there. That's why Steph Curry got so popular, because if Steph Curry was 6'9", it wouldn't be the same. It's because he has a baby face and he's about 6'3", he's not very assuming, which makes the story that much better, that this guy right here is taking the league by storm. So Stephen A. Jackson is on this bliggity black stuff, but again, most black folks don't have any nuance in their thought. There's no nuance. It's everything is just black or white. All the black people I knew was rooting for Dawn Staley. Most black folks don't watch college women's basketball. Most black folks don't know who Dawn Staley is. So what is the reason that black people would be rooting for Dawn Staley if they don't know who she is and they don't watch women's college basketball? What's the reason they're even watching it? I'll tell you, it's because she's black. That's the reason. And he just said it. Everybody black that I knew was rooting for Dawn Staley because she's black.
Usually I don't even respond to this cat, Uncle Ruckus, aka Jason Whitlock. To say that I'm rooting for Dawn Staley over Caitlin Clark simply because she was black is the dumbest thing to say. I was a big Dawn Staley fan. What number did I wear my rookie year? 24. The sad part is,
there is no way on God's green earth that Steven Jackson, black people lie. You've never heard Steven Jackson say ever in an interview that I wore 24 because of Dawn Staley. Show me where he said that prior to this. Have you ever heard Steven Jackson say that Dawn Staley was an inspiration to him? Have you ever heard Steven Jackson say when he was a rookie, my inspiration in basketball was Dawn Staley? Never. Black people lie. But the reason why he had to lie was because he'd already said that everybody black that he knew was rooting for Dawn Staley. He already admitted it. Issa Rae said, I'm rooting for everybody black. And what's been the result of that? What's been the result of rooting everybody black? You rooted for Obama, set you up. You rooted for MLK, set you up. You rooted for Farrakhan, set you up. You rooted for Marcus Garvey, set you up. You rooted for Du Bois, set you up. Listen, I can go down the list. Y'all picking somebody because they were black has never worked, ever. Everybody that you all pick that's black, that black people pick, is always bad. Now, Dawn Staley is the same woman that said she wants men to play in women's sports. Your black queen, your black stud, she wants men to play in women's sports. And instead of y'all saying it would be a travesty for men to take over women's college basketball, you all say we're going to praise Dawn Staley in South Carolina in spite of Caitlin Clark in Iowa. You can get black people to justify sin just as long as you say it's going to make white folks mad. If you put any sin against white people, you can get black folks to do it. So you can get black women to abort their baby if you say, well, white women are only against abortion because their numbers are dwindling. White people are only against abortion because their numbers are dwindling. That right there alone will get black women to abort their baby. You can get black people to go against the word of God just as long as you say it's going to hinder, stop, block, interfere, or do something to white people. The Bible says, thou shalt not steal. Y'all go out there stealing flat screens and bundles in the name of fighting white supremacy. Y'all go out there and destroy property in the name of fighting against white supremacy. Y'all literally sin and break the law in the name of fighting against white supremacy. Just imagine y'all going to hell over what you think somebody's doing.
Is you can't go a day without hating on black people. You nothing but a puppet and a brown noser for the hating minority part of the world. That's what you do. You give people confidence to hate. I guess it's not racist when the black man said, huh? And that's not being a free thinker or being free-minded. You just a sucker, and you've been a sucker, and you find.
Hold up. Imagine, and I think about this. Think about what he just said. Most black people don't think like Jason Whitlock. Most black folks think like Steven Jackson. Think about this. The majority of black people think like Steven Jackson. Just by default, how can he be a free thinker if most black folks agree with him? Think about that. Most black people agree with Steven Jackson. How can he be a free thinker if the majority of what he's saying, the majority of black folks agree with? The majority of black folks do not agree with Jason Whitlock at all. Me either. But the funny thing is that black people, just like black women say, we're not all the same. But then you look at what they like and what they follow, and it's literally all the same. It's the same way he's talking about, oh, we got free thought. Matter of fact, the dude from Roots, he had free thought, but then he realized he was black and he called himself Black Thought. Like black folk having a free thinking mind and being black does not exist. It just doesn't. Free thinking black people are shunned in the black community.
The way to demean people to get attention. But nobody watch your show, bro. You're not a part of the culture. And I hate I even addressed you because you probably can't even hear me because you're somewhere breathing hard trying to get up the steps. Facts. We give Caitlin Clark nothing but love and we'll continue to. I have daughters that play basketball. We support the WNBA just like we support the NBA. Happy 420 to all my bud brothers and sisters out there. Coming up, you're going to start seeing me wear a lot of WNBA jerseys, and I will have Caitlin Clark jersey on, Whitlock, Idiot, love for all who have love for all. We know how to support our people and be proud and black without demeaning the next race. You dig? You should try it. You have a good weekend.
Steven Jackson is an idiot, though, man. Steven Jackson. I mean, these people are just brainless, mindless puppets, man. And it's funny that everything he's calling Whitlock, he actually is. Like, look at him. He's just a poser, man. Look at him. He wearing the Colorado, I'm going to support Deion because Deion is black. I'm going to support everything black. It's just foolish. Right. Cap and Jack. Happy 420 to all my bud brothers. Do y'all remember when he checked in the old block? Do y'all remember when they had this old man out there dunking on an 8-foot hoop. Y'all remember that? Who saw that? Remember that? I played that video. He was out there dunking in the old block on the old hoop. I said, God, look how low and spineless he is. He going to O Block to check in, dunking on the 8-foot rim, impressed. They probably extorted him. Surprised he didn't get his chain took. I know he went out there and broke bread. How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet he paid to check in? He broke bread on O Block, dunking like a circus monkey. Got you doing tricks. Got you dunking for their amusement. Calling Whitlock a sucker. You did the most suckers move of all. Checking in with a bunch of kids in O Block. Disgusting. The black man is weak.
Steve, I'm not going to sit here and call you a bunch of names. I have clearly taken some shots. I've called you limited. You are limited. You're someone that joined a gang, and in your 40s, you're still very proud of being in that gang.
Man, Stephen A. Jackson joined a gang. Now listen. He joined the gang, but he paid. He paid. I'm telling you, he paid. This man joined a gang in his 40s. Stephen Jackson wasn't swooping. Most people join a gang at 13 years old, young. Stephen Jackson joined the gang at 40 and got the nerve to call somebody a puppet and a sucker. This man, they'll listen to the man. They got the Bible tattooed on his stomach with some prayer hands, but they Muslim. They'll listen to the guy checking in the O Block at almost 50. They'll listen to the guy that joined the gang in his 40s. They'll listen to him, but when Blanche is talking, I'm going to put my headphones in. I can't listen to Blanche, but I can listen to Stephen Jackson joining the gang in his 40s. It's disgusting. He didn't join no gang. He getting extorted. He's paying. He got his social activism credibility by talking about George Floyd. He's an opportunist, man. These people are fake. George Floyd wasn't no good person. He wasn't no honorable man. He was destroying the black community. And he had a white woman. When George Floyd was on the ground and he was dying, he was hollering for that white woman. He wasn't hollering like, what's the name of Amistad, give us free. He was hollering for that white woman. He was on the ground hollering for that white woman. He didn't holler for no liberation, at least in Braveheart. The guy in Braveheart, the Mel Gibson played, the Irish dude, at least he yelled out freedom. George Floyd yelled for the white woman. And y'all done made him a hero. The dope fiend.
Hats off to you. I'm friends with some gang members myself, and how people like you are used to control the mentality of black people and to spread a prison mentality among black people. It's your job to house and control the thoughts of Negroes.
But what Jason Whitlock said is correct. Stephen Jackson is a tool of Satan because his goal is to keep you in bondage. His goal is to keep you tied to a false image of the black man, that you have to be in the gang, you have to be street, you got to be cool, you got to do all this cliche foolishness. It's the same thing with Eddie Winslow versus Urkel, Will Smith versus Carlton Banks. They always give you something to choose from. The number one show they had on TV was when they showed the Cosbys. They showed an upper middle class black family, and the whole country, no matter regardless of the race, loved the show. Then they said, wait a minute, this show is unifying people. So let's start adding them, getting something to choose from. So they gave you Eddie Winslow versus Steve Urkel. They gave you Will Smith versus Carlton Banks. You want to be cool or you want to be smart? They made you trade away being a child prodigy, potentially winning a Nobel Peace Prize. You traded all that in to be cool and sing like Eddie Winslow, or to walk with a suit like Stefan Urkel. The enemy is clever, y'all. The enemy is clever.
I need need to talk to y'all about something. I recently went to an event and there were about 1,000 people there. And of the couples that were there, about 95% of them were black men with non-black women. The person leading the event was a black man that was married to a white woman. I'd be lying if I said that seeing all of this at the same time was not triggering. This is pretty much what the dating scene looks like overall in LA. Here are 4 other observations that I picked up on since moving to LA. 1, it's not equal. It's not like I'm seeing a bunch of black women dating outside their race. In fact, I'm barely seeing black women dating at all. 2, it's gotten so bad that at this point, whenever I do see a black man that's single, the first thing that I'm asking myself is, I wonder if he dates black women. 3, within the past couple months, I've had conversations with multiple black women that actually want to leave LA. Not because of the economy, not because they aren't flourishing in their careers, but simply because they feel like there's no love for them in LA. The fact that I know so many beautiful, talented, compassionate, evolved black women that are all feeling the same way makes no sense to me. And lastly, when you don't see yourself.
But this young lady that's talking right now, so somebody put in the chat, she has the Nefertiti necklace on. So that right there is a red flag. Fellas, you know, I don't care what race you are. If you see a black woman and she had any kind of, if it's an Africa continent, if it's a Nefertiti, if it's anything that's a black fist, if it's anything dealing with blackness of Africa or Egypt or Ankh or a pyramid, stay away. It's going to be foolishness with that. If you see her with some kind of anything that's it's an Ankh, pyramid, black fist, stay away. It's going to be foolishness associated with it.
Reflected in a space, you feel like you don't exist. As a black woman myself, I can tell you honestly, when it comes to the romantic space, I have never felt more invisible than I do living in LA.
Now, the reason why, and again, this goes back to oppression, because she says it's not like it's fair. It's not black men's fault that black men are able to date outside of their race. That now y'all say America's racist. If America was so racist, think about what black women are saying. Black women are saying America's racist, but black men date white women. Just think about what she's saying. America is racist, but black men are able to date outside of their, it doesn't make any sense. The truth of the matter is that it's not about it being LA. The truth of the matter is, in California, there is more competition for black women. That's the issue. The issue is black women have to actually compete in California because it's not just black and white. It's black and Hispanic, it's black and white, it's black and Asian, it's black and Pacific Islander, it's black and Eastern European, it's black and Armenian, it's black in every other race in California, especially Los Angeles. So we're talking about a city that's a melting pot city, and now a black man can choose from all of the other races. It's going to be hard, dear black women, to compete with other races of women because of your culture. It's not your looks. It's not your education. It's none of that. It is because of the culture. These other races of women value men. And a man can tell whether or not he's being valued. He can tell whether he's being tolerated or whether he's being celebrated. It's easy for him to see this. Most women want a good man. That's what they want. Some women will say, okay, I want a black guy, white, but most women want a good man. But in Los Angeles specifically, a black man can date Jewish, Hispanic, Asian, black, all the races. Because it's the culture of Los Angeles and California in general. That's the culture of it. So you moved to LA thinking that you was going to win. You didn't factor in, you got to compete. But black women could compete if you valued men. Like, again, this is simple. You ain't got to get no BBL, none of that. You just got to change your attitude. You got to say, I need a man in my life. I'm willing to submit to a man. Like it's simple.
I'd be lying if I said that seeing all of this at the same time was not triggering. This is pretty much.
Now imagine the fact that you're triggered because somebody, she didn't say the black man and the white woman had an unhealthy relationship. Think about this. She's not even telling you there were bad relationships. She's saying the optics of it is triggering me. So instead of sitting down and asking questions, how did you all meet? Have you ever noticed that these black women never have the decency to ask these white women, what'd you do? They have so much pride and their egos are through the roof. They never sit down and ask these white women, what did you all do? I was at an event years ago, and it was this dating event, and it was about 5 guys. It was a book author. It was the author of a book there. It was about 5 guys, me and 2 of my boys and 2 other guys. It was about 30 women, including the host, and it was about 3 couples or 4 couples. There were 2 white women there, and at the couples there were 2 mixed couples. So there were 2 mixed couples, and there were 2 white women there. Everybody else is black. And so the questions were being asked, and it's funny because the white women's responses to the questions versus the black women, it was so night and day. It was so night and day to where us guys was like, we like what they said. The white girls. Now, of course, the black women got upset and started getting mad at the white girl because they feel like the white girls was just saying that to appeal to the men. But I'm like, so what if they were? Like, so what if they were? If you trying to catch a man, so what? So what? But what I'm saying is that it's a cultural thing. Most of these white women don't grow up devaluing men. Now, some of them go off to college and get crazy and they become a libtard like them, but most white women, for the most part, don't grow up devaluing men. Most black women grow up with men not having a leadership position in their life. It's their mother, it's their grandmother. Most black women come from a matriarchal environment, not patriarchal. And so again, that's the difference. It's culture. It ain't race. It's culture. It's culture. Attraction is attraction. But also a headache is a headache. So most men are going to pick peace.
What the dating scene looks like overall in LA. Here are 4 other observations that I picked up on since moving to LA. 1, it's not equal. It's not like I'm seeing a bunch of black women dating outside their race. In fact, I'm barely seeing black women dating at all.
Now think about this. Black men are dating. So think about this now. Black men are able to date. You never hear an issue of black men dating. So you hear this from black women. So my question is, if black women are so dynamic and so wonderful, then why are they having such a hard time dating? It doesn't make any sense because we've already established that black men date. So when she says that she doesn't see black women going outside of their race, matter of fact, I don't see black women dating at all, then that sounds like a black woman issue. And I've already established that what black women have to fix is free. Is to change your outlook. I don't care what these folks tell y'all. This for any woman. You're going to need a man. Before this is all said and done, you are going to need a man. And I ain't even saying you got to even have a man to marry or even be with, but you're going to need some kind of strong man around you somewhere in the vicinity. You're going to need a man that cares about your well-being in the vicinity. When push comes to shove, you are going to need a man. Now, this girl right here with this Nefertiti necklace, I guarantee if you ask her, does she need a man? She's going to say no. If I meet a young lady and I said, how bad do you want to be married? I need to hear like my life depends on it. She need to tell me get married or bust. That's how important it is.
2, it's gotten so bad that at this point, whenever I do see a black man that's single, the first thing that I'm asking myself is, I wonder if he dates black women. 3, within the past couple months, I've had conversations with multiple black women that actually want to leave LA. Not because of the economy, not because they aren't flourishing in their careers, but simply because they feel like there's no love for them in LA.
Not because of their career, not because of the economics, not because they aren't flourishing. Single, single, single. Not because of their career, not because of the economics, not because they aren't flourishing. Single, single, single. The fact that you believe that you're flourishing without a man is insane. The fact that you believe that you are flourishing without a man is insane. How can you be flourishing and you're single and lonely? You're not flourishing, ma'am, because you're making money and you're miserable. It's the culture. And what black women do is, instead of black women being honest and having some character and saying, it's our attitude, it's how we view things, it's our lack of humility. Instead of saying that, they say, oh, it's racism. Or the black man is weak, he don't like his mama. They hate us. They're going against us. It's cap. Black women get celebrated, whether they big, whether they skinny, whether they silly, whether they smart. Black women get celebrated across all spectrums. Cardi B sat down with Joe Biden. Meg Thee Stallion sat down with Maxine Waters. Black women get celebrated. Chrisette Michele sang for Trump. Black women get celebrated, no matter what they do, whether it's good or bad. So that ain't the issue. The issue is your arrogance, your attitude, your pride. She got this Nefertiti necklace on and she thinks she's doing something, not realizing that is like a garlic, that's like garlic or a cross to a vampire. Because if a black man got some sense and he sees that necklace on her chest, he gonna be like, nope, because you know what comes with it. She's not wearing it for fashion. She's wearing it to make a statement.
The fact that I know so many beautiful, talented, compassionate, evolved black women that are all feeling the same way makes no sense to me. And
Cardi B is from the island. She's from a Spanish-speaking island, whether it be Dominican or something. Cardi B from the islands. She's Spanish, but still, black folks claim Cardi B as black. So yeah, so I go by who black folks. I don't. Obama ain't black and Kamala ain't black, but it don't matter. That's who black folks claim. So that's what I'm going with.
lastly, when you don't see yourself reflected in a space, you feel like you don't exist. As a black woman myself,
The funny thing about her saying that is, you can't drive by a building, a bus stop. You can't. If you're in a major city, you cannot walk a block without seeing a black face plastered somewhere, a black woman. You can't walk into a bank and not see a black woman on the wall of a bank. Tell me I'm lying. You see black women everywhere in society. So that means if society doesn't have a problem promoting black women, then clearly the issue is something else. And I already know this woman right here is ego. She got an ego, narcissism, attitude, no humility. She ain't gonna submit. All this from this girl right here. And she wonder why she's single. And then if I tell her this, she gonna get mad at me. Put her headphones in and then be single.
I can tell you honestly, when it comes to the romantic space, I have never felt more invisible than I do living in LA.
So you feel invisible living in LA. What you gonna do about it? How are you gonna make yourself presentable to a black man? How? By doing what? The truth about LA is competition. Black women have to compete with other races of women in Los Angeles. And they can't compete because of the culture. The other women were raised to respect men. Y'all weren't. The other women didn't buy into feminism. They don't have propaganda on TV and movies and in songs and all that where black women reign supreme. They don't have that. Their grandmothers and great grandmothers and mothers told them they need a man. Yours didn't. And so were you all talking about you got to compete and do this and be independent and be strong and black girl, they ain't got all that. They just regular women and they getting chose by black men. So dear black women, if you want to compete in the dating market against other races of women, you're going to change your culture. The easiest way is just follow the Bible. Dear black women, if you really want the cheat code to getting with a black man, so y'all say, then follow God's word. I guarantee it'll lead you to a husband. And stop wearing Nefertiti chains. Somebody said she wasn't even black. Nefertiti was, what was she? Mixed, wasn't she? What was Nefertiti? She wasn't even black.
You talk to him
so
like this?
That's why it's important for him to be that kind of partner for me.
Do you talk to him like this?
Like what?
Like how you talking to us right now? Do you talk to him like that?
You over talking.
Yeah.
Tell me a lot of women.
Yeah, tell me you talk to him like that.
I'm gonna tell you something.
And you expect him to be a ride or die for you.
Can I say this? I ain't gonna say a lot of women.
You.
I was sitting here listening. There's no way in the fuck, because I done dealt with this.
Me
no
too.
way in the
Me
fuck.
too.
I'm going to sit here and take you serious when you doing this shit to me. I got a mama. Or had. I don't need another mama. I need a partner.
Yeah.
My partner in business or anything ain't going to talk to me fucked up and make me feel this big.
Yeah.
First of all, I want to touch on something you said earlier. I'm glad you went in like that. I want to touch on something you just said a few minutes ago. We're getting here.
Yeah.
We're getting here.
First of all, I don't want y'all to think that by me bringing that up, I'm talking down on my man. I'm using it as an example because I know that's how a nigga would do. A nigga would take the slightest little thing you say and try to make like I'm trying to belittle my man in front of here. No, that's not what I'm doing. What I am doing though is making sure you understand that when a woman has a vision and a plan for where she want to go in her life, she don't need a man telling her, oh no, you don't need to go on
She
stage.
can do it in the inside voice.
She don't need to go on
She
stage.
can talk in the inside voice.
Yeah, what's wrong with the regular voice?
She can talk in the regular voice.
When a man talk loud, he's confident.
No,
when a woman talk loud,
no.
She's when a woman talk loud, she's just loud.
Yeah, because you know why? Because the women ain't supposed to talk like that.
So can I finish?
You're right.
Fuck both of y'all. If y'all think that I'm up here being some type of way because I don't need neither one of y'all for shit, and you're not gonna sit up here and talk condescending to me either. Because yes, I am a strong woman. I am a empowered woman. Hey, I don't take shit off of no nigga. I don't give a fuck if he my daddy, my brother, my man, or the nigga sitting next to me on stage.
This is
I don't give a fuck.
Listen, this is a question that you said. Why you mad at us for that?
Dear ladies, that's why you can't compete. That's why you can't compete. That in a nutshell is why you can't compete. You don't even have enough sense to not be the stereotype that you say you aren't. That man asked you a simple question. Do you talk to your man how you talk to us? Then he says, why can't you use your inside voice? Why are you hollering? So when you hear women generalizing men, that's a bad sign. Because the problem is that what she's done in her life is just deal with a whole bunch of low character men. And she's based her poor decision-making, her poor choosing skills, and she's said that's all men, and it's not true. When women speak like this, they don't respect men, because if you respect a man, you know that there's going to be a difference between a good man and a bad man, foolish man, wise man. You know this. So the fact that she says this is already starts going downhill, because she's already starting to generalize men. And there's no way she respects her man. And again, black men, by and large, deal with black women. But this is what black men be putting up with, is this kind of stuff right here. I see it. This right here. No humility, no decorum, no class, no just I'm right, I'm black, I'm strong, I'm this, I don't, you know, she even says it. I don't care if it's my father, I don't care if it's my brother. What makes a man want to throw his jacket over the puddle? What makes a man want to open the door? Like, what makes a man want to bring you flowers? It's the fact that you are a lady. That's what prompts him to want to do it, because he sees a lady. If he sees a man, he's not going to want to do it. What they should have done was kick her off the show. Men, this is black men, it's y'all fault. This is black men's fault. Because y'all want to sleep with these women, you put your principles and character aside instead of telling them the truth. Get off the show. The show's over. You're gone.
White woman don't focus on your dick. Yeah, she go get all the money affairs and all to make sure the businesses run smooth, go get the charity, and the black woman be squabbling with you about your dick. Yeah, black woman go squabble with you about your dick. White woman go open charities up, start doing book clubs and reading shit, making sure she picked a accountant and financial advisor, and the black bitch go be one of my bitch. Who is that calling? Who is that? So that's why I ain't bullshit. She gonna be stuck on the dick part. She ain't gonna never get the financial and business aspect of it. So I see why them niggas do that.
Yeah. So you don't think that makes them what can I say?
You
like they
homie,
sold
listen,
out.
you damn near have to. When you go to making the kind of money them niggas making, homie, for one, the black woman, homie, she'll trip anywhere. She'll check you in front of your business partner, and so he'll start saying.
So let me say this, right? So one component that Charleston White's leaving out is that the man picked the woman. So if you pick a woman that would embarrass you in front of your business partners, you made the wrong choice. I can't give a man a pass for a woman acting up, but you should never got with her. So any woman acting up in a relationship is the man's fault because he picked her. It's just that simple. Somewhere along the line, you compromised because you want to sleep with her. So what you did was you overlooked bad behavior to sleep with her. So I don't feel sorry for these black women terrorizing you. I don't. You deserve it. Have some discipline, have some self-respect, have some character, and pick you a righteous woman. So these athletes, it's not like they get other, like it's not an easy role for them either, because you get with a white woman. And so the assumption is that the white woman gonna let them cheat and do all this stuff. No, she's not. The assumption is that these white women gonna tolerate bad behavior. No, they're not. Most of them gonna have them children, and then you through. Cut up you want to, and they take it half. So there's no way to circumvent using character to pick a woman. So again, if you get in a relationship and that woman would be harassing you and taking away your peace and terrorizing you and embarrassing you for your business partners, you picked the wrong woman. I'm sorry. It's your fault. I have no sympathy for you. I guarantee if you wasn't sleeping with her, you would have saw clearly and you wouldn't have picked her. It's your fault.
Man, you can't control your woman. Man, your woman will come. So he'll start not wanting to do business with you. Because your woman, y'all will be out together, nigga, your woman will catch attitude in front of his woman and wife, and everybody about business be looking at your woman crazy because she in her feelings. Mm. The black woman, between the black woman and the black man, they in their feelings everywhere. Everybody else trying to have a good time, they go get in their feelings. Everybody else trying to conduct business, handle business, nigga, it's gonna be so, that's why. That's why you see all them niggas with a white bra, unless they been with the woman like Snoop Dogg, Denzel, that's why. Because nobody's training and teaching black girls how to deal with successful black men.
But the reason why most men go outside of their quote unquote race, I'm gonna just say black men, is because of culture. Other races of women respect men. And it's just that simple. She don't have to be taught how to respect a man. She don't have to grow into it. She don't have to learn. It's just automatic because that's how she was raised. It's already in her. It's ingrained in her.
They just learn how to deal with hood niggas. Niggas who, ain't nobody.
So Charleston White, this clip is going viral with him talking about this. But the one thing he's leaving out is that ultimately this boils down to the man and his leadership. And so I can't give anybody an excuse. If a black woman is terrorizing you, it's your fault. And honestly, I hope she terrorizes you to oblivion, because you shouldn't have picked her. Because I know you only picked her based on something that was superficial. You didn't pick her based on character and honor. You picked her on something that's superficial. Again, though, it's up to a man to make the right decision, because the man sets the standard. So I can only blame these women up to a certain point. If men had said, we're not going to tolerate bad behavior to have sex, everything would have changed. But because men are weak for JJ, this is what we have. We have a bunch of entitled women who know they got all the leverage with these weak men. That's why it's important. It's imperative that a man goes on a celibacy journey so that he knows how to conduct himself when sex is off the table. That's going to take you walking with God, walking alone, and walking with God. So you can know that even if I don't have sex, I still got God. Even if I don't have a relationship and access to a woman and sex and all this stuff, I still got Christ. So that's what you got to get to as a man. But listen, I love you all. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I want y'all to be blessed. I want us to be married. Because honestly, what's the point of all this? We can't share it with somebody. I mean, I'm just saying. But, I want us all to be married, be in happy relationships. I really do. The apocalypse is going to be a lot easier to deal with when you got somebody to share the zombie war with. So anyway, I love you all, and I will see you all tomorrow on Cutting Through the Culture. Thank you.